We've all heard the stories of mighty gods, brave heroes, and epic battles. But what if I told you that some of those tales aren't exactly as they seem? What if the myths we've celebrated for centuries were full of lies, mistranslations, and sinister secrets? Buckle up, because today we're counting down the 10 darkest myths where mythology got it wrong, and trust me, you'll want to stick around for the most shocking revelation at number 1. 10. Pandora's Box. A mistranslation that changed the myth forever. Starting off our list is one of the most famous myths from Greek mythology, Pandora and her infamous box. Except it wasn't a box. The original Greek myth referred to a jar, a large clay vessel called a pythos. Renaissance scholars mistranslated the word, transforming a simple jar into a magical, treasure-like chest. This small error completely changed how we visualize the story, turning Pandora into a more reckless and destructive figure than intended. A jar is mundane, while a box feels mystical, symbolic, and far more dramatic. The myth of Pandora's jar became Pandora's box, and mythology's first viral rebranding. 9. Anubis, the misunderstood protector of the dead. Anubis, the jackal-headed god of death, is often portrayed as a sinister figure lurking in tombs and the underworld. But this depiction couldn't be further from the truth. Anubis wasn't a god of terror. He was a protector, a guide for souls transitioning to the afterlife. His role in the ancient Egyptian Book of the Dead was to ensure the heart of the deceased was weighed fairly against the feather of Ma'at, symbolizing justice. Modern horror movies and dark imagery have turned Anubis into a frightening figure, but in truth, he was a god of balance and compassion, not fear. 8. Thor, the reckless brute, not the superhero. In 8th place, we have Thor, the Norse god of thunder. Thanks to Marvel, Thor is a noble, wise protector of humanity. But the original Norse Thor was far from the shining hero we know today. Thor was loud, impulsive, and often embarrassingly foolish. In one tale, he fails to lift a giant's cat, not realizing it's the disguised Midgard serpent. Thor was also a lover of feasts, drinking contests, and smashing things with his hammer. While he was certainly strong, he was more of a reckless brute than the righteous savior we've come to idolize. 7. The Trojan Horse. Myth or military strategy? The Trojan horse is one of the most iconic stories in Greek mythology, but many historians question its authenticity. Was there really a wooden horse? Or was it a poetic metaphor for a clever military tactic? Some theories suggest the horse could have been a siege engine or a ship's belly used to smuggle soldiers. The tale of the wooden horse, though symbolic, may have been a later embellishment added for dramatic effect. The real horse might have been nothing more than a storyteller's invention. 6. Medusa. The monster who wasn't at number 6 is Medusa, the Gorgon who turned men to stone with her gaze. But the truth behind her story is far darker. Medusa was once a beautiful maiden who was assaulted by Poseidon in Athena's temple. Instead of punishing Poseidon, Athena took her wrath out on Medusa, cursing her to become a monster. The real tragedy? Medusa's story was one of victimhood turned to villainy. She was punished not for her own actions, but for the whims of the gods. A chilling reminder of how divine justice often fell short. 5. Persephone. Queen, not victim. The story of Persephone is often told as a tale of abduction, where Hades, god of the underworld, kidnaps her and forces her to become his queen. But in some versions of the myth, Persephone wasn't merely a victim. As the queen of the underworld, she embraced her role as a powerful ruler, deciding the fates of souls and standing as an equal to Hades. This darker, more complex interpretation of Persephone challenges the simplistic narrative of her being a damsel in distress. 4. Ragnarok. Not the end, but a new beginning. Ragnarok, often described as the Norse apocalypse, is misunderstood. Most people think it's the end of the world, but the original myths suggest something much more profound. After the destruction and chaos, the world is reborn, cleansed and renewed. This cycle of death and rebirth symbolizes renewal, rather than absolute doom. The popular image of Ragnarok as a catastrophic end was likely a misinterpretation influenced by modern apocalyptic stories. 3. Hercules. Hero or villain? At number 3 is Hercules, often celebrated as the ultimate hero for completing his 12 labors. But his story is far darker than most know. Hercules, in a fit of madness inflicted by Hera, killed his own wife and children. His famed labors weren't heroic deeds. They were penance for his horrific actions. The Hercules of myth wasn't a beacon of virtue. He was a deeply flawed figure, plagued by rage and regret, whose redemption came at a great cost. 2. Zeus, the tyrant king of Olympus. Taking the second spot is Zeus, the so-called wise and just king of the gods. In reality, Zeus was a tyrant. He maintained power through fear, manipulation, and violence. His numerous affairs, often involving trickery, coercion, or outright assault, paint a picture of a god who ruled with impunity. From orchestrating wars to punishing mortals for defying him, Zeus's actions reveal a deeply flawed and often cruel figure. His legacy isn't one of justice, but one of domination. 1. Dragons. Fiction or forgotten reality. Finally, at number 1, we have dragons. These mythical creatures appear in countless cultures, from Europe to China. But where did they come from? Some believe dragons were inspired by real animals, like crocodiles or dinosaur fossils, unearthed by ancient peoples. Others think they were invented to explain natural disasters or symbolize human fears. But what if dragons weren't entirely fictional? The consistent presence of these creatures across the globe raises tantalizing questions. Were they a shared hallucination, a cultural coincidence, or something more? The truth behind dragons might be the darkest and most fascinating secret mythology has to offer. Mythology isn't just about gods and heroes. It's about the stories we tell ourselves and the truths we choose to hide. These myths, celebrated for centuries, reveal a darker side of humanity and imagination. Which of these myths surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more revelations about the myths we thought we knew.